Hello, and welcome to the new Fringe podcast. I'm not really sure about that one. We'll keep it in, because this is what we're trying to do. Be all authentic. There we go. I'll get the words out eventually. So on today's show we have Mandy, and we also have John Gray, who I believe is also going to be hosting some of the episodes, because obviously it's going to be impossible to... We have a lot of guests backlogged. Which one would it be? And I might not be able to make every day. This is the episode which I had never been so tired in my life, so I thought this would be also a great opportunity for John to start co-hosting. He wanted to get into the seat with me so he could sort of build off of me, and I'm very grateful that he did. The conversation starts quite serious, but then it quickly becomes into a really lovely conversation, and it's actually pushed the platform in another direction, because up until now most of the guests have been I don't want to say an interview, but definitely following a certain formula. And John's brought another dynamic, and we've sort of turned it more chatty, which I think's nicer. And I think we're having some really good open conversations. And Mandy was absolutely lovely and terrific, and we touched on some really interesting conversations, about the male and female race. We got to hear takes from different sides, and speak about what it's like being a guy growing up around other guys, and what it's like being a woman seeing this. And Mandy also talks about being a mother. This is sort of our last podcast of the guest before we have like a little mini wrap up with just myself and John. So I'd like to say it's been really fun and been really interesting. You'll see in this one I have a lot going off in my head, because I've sort of neglected my life for 3 days, so there's a lot going off behind the scenes, what we're sort of playing in my mind. So for the first half an hour, like I said, I was lucky to have John there, because he focused the whole thing, because I was off on another planet. I didn't really sleep much that night either, but like I was saying, it was interesting because it turned into one of the more, I don't want to say interesting, but definitely one of the more chatty ones, and more of an open conversation, which I'd like to push the podcast in that direction. Anyway, we've got Mandy, who's going to talk about her art. She's going to talk about coping with grief, and we're just going to have some fun and talk about some cool stuff. So enjoy. So
right, okay.
So I think you're 14th. So
yeah, it's been a few.
14th.
Something like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
14th.
Yeah. What's going on here?
Our sneaky sponsor.
Yeah.
Sneaky sponsor?
Yeah.
Is that somebody who doesn't know you're sponsoring?
No,
Sponsoring?
it's my own thing, but
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I just brought it as like a...
So, thought it was just a prop.
Right. Drink of water.
Yeah.
Keep hydrated, very important.
Sound like my mum. It's the kind of thing your mum would say to you, so keep hydrated, it's very important.
You do pass it on though, don't you? Like, because when I'm growing up now, when I was a bit younger, I'd be like, oh mum, be quiet. But then as I've got like older,
You appreciate
I push the advice down as well.
Water.
Yeah.
You start worrying about people lower than you as well. Like,
Yeah.
younger than you. You start to like, if you see like a kid go out with like a coat, you start thinking, oh, why has that kid not got a coat on? But when you're like younger,
You can tell that you're kind of
You know exactly
getting
why
on
you
a
don't want
bit
to.
Yeah.
when you like drive. You know, if you drive anywhere at night, especially in the town or city centre, and you've seen all these, you know, especially girls, but like, you know, really short skirts and no tights on and no coat, and you know, blokes with short sleeves, and it's like, you know, you must be freezing. Like you said, where's your coat?
It's like middle of February.
You don't go, and you don't go anywhere without your coat, and there they are. But you know, if they're all boozed up, they don't feel it, do they? But
The amount of times I've walked home in the rain from 4 a.m. and just my tight shirt that I used to wear when I was skinny. Like, no, it's just.
No, you do it when you're a kid. When you're a kid,
yeah.
you just like you go out with no jacket on. I don't know what it is now. It's not trying to look hard, is it? It's just
It's
like,
not trying to look hard. It's just it's not cool to wear a coat.
Cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not cool to wear.
But jackets are very cool.
Yeah, no, but it's also like an extra layer. You don't want that extra layer.
Yeah, that's
Because
true.
then what do you do with it?
Yeah,
If
exactly.
you put it in a cloakroom, or if there's no cloakroom, then you know where does it go
You
really?
get-
Then it gets lost.
You get all stolen.
Yeah,
You get bullied
I
for your
remember
jacket as
being
well.
at art college.
Like-
You know the what's it called now? The View or whatever.
Yeah.
Church View.
Yeah.
When that was the art college, that's where I went. And I remember going out, getting boozed up somewhere, and we were all dressed up. I don't know, some retro thing. But you'll say that when I was at college, that's retro for you. Anyway, I remember waking up and missing some clothes and finding a jacket that I don't know where it came from. I thought it's really nice. This
A free jacket.
suede jacket, yeah. And it was very, 70s or whatever. And I thought, God, it's really great. I've had it for years.
It's
I
just
don't know where it came
it's
from.
yours
though.
now.
It's my jacket now.
someone's out there still looking to this day
Yeah, there
for
might
their
be. Yeah,
jacket.
there might be really.
That's what my girlfriend did. She nicked a jacket from the club, and she's been wearing it for like 2 years now.
Yeah.
And like, maybe you shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
But-
Maybe you shouldn't wear it all
Yeah.
the time if it's
Yeah,
not.
especially if somebody sees you and they're like really hard or something.
Yeah, you just nicked the hardest bloke in Britain.
I can imagine. That could be like a story, that couldn't you? You innocently, you've picked something up by accident. You wake up and you've got someone else's jacket on, and then, someone spots you
Some kind of weird Freaky
Yeah.
Friday.
somewhere miles away, and someone spots you, and then a series of mishaps,
As long as they don't
occur.
beat you up
And
immediately.
then, but like
Yeah.
really like small things, and then they get bigger and bigger, and you've got no idea why they're happening to you, and then eventually it's discovered that you've got this
This is a
jacket,
jacket.
and the jacket belongs to this, I don't know, local mafia or something, something hard,
yeah.
but it's
The
like
worst
their
possible scenario.
partner's child's whatever, and that person's not around anymore, and they think that you've offed them for the jacket, or God, it could be,
That'd be a good film.
hey,
Don't know what it'd be called.
story in an instant. We could
My jacket.
the next Hollywood.
Yeah.
How have you
Created in this room.
how have you been doing through COVID? Have you been all right?
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
been all right. Yeah, I mean the only thing that wasn't good was that my mum got poorly, and then
Yeah.
she died in August last year. So that was, I say, the only thing that kind of coloured everything after that, really. So
The whole COVID thing was secondary at that point.
yeah,
I'm
I think
assuming.
so. Yeah, because originally the consultant said to my mum, we'll have to stop your treatment because you're not going to die of not having your treatment. You're not going to die of this cancer, and but you will die if you get COVID. It's like she didn't get that.
No.
She died because of cancer, and it,
Yeah.
What you were saying, wasn't it? Like that generation is just so strong. They want to keep on going. They want to keep on working, keep pottering, keep doing things. And they don't switch off, do they?
No.
That's why a lot of old people, older people, have been struggling through COVID because, I mean, we were speaking a little bit earlier when speaking to my mum, you were saying retail like high street is quite big for the older people. My grandma and granddad, or for some reason
they
just
like to
obsessed
do that, don't they? Like you said,
every
they
time.
just- I don't know what it was about that, but my mum and dad, and I only found out in the last few years that my mum, she's really into kind of culture more than I realised.
Yeah.
My dad isn't so much, and I thought it was the other way around, that it was my mum who was kind of the one who was into just the retail therapy, and my dad who was into culture.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the case, and I was really surprised. So it's funny, I've known my mum all my life, and I only found that about in the last couple of years, and I thought that was it's weird that I didn't know that about her, especially as my whole life is about kind of being creative.
You get a lot of
So-
stories like that with when people come to the end of a life, or there's some kind of bigger event where that's the kind of like the time that you get to know the most about them.
Well, I think it was just a random conversation, and my mum said, "Oh no, Dad won't want to go there, like a National Trust place." Something. Oh, I'd love to go there. I don't know. It might have been because I had a piece of work that went up at Normanby Hall in North Links. It was a chandelier installation, and so I invited them to the opening. And my mum was like, "Oh, I love it. I love that kind of thing." I'm like, "Yeah, really?"
Should have said.
Yeah, I had no idea. Oh, no, your dad's not so bothered. So it may be that they didn't go to stuff like that because my dad wasn't so bothered, but my mum was, and it was both like retail therapy. So that's what they did instead.
Yeah.
Because she did used to say a lot, like, "Oh, I've seen a really nice pair of shoes." I'm like, "Mum, how many pairs of shoes have you got?"
Yeah.
You've got loads of pairs of shoes. She really liked her clothes. She got more clothes than me. But then, maybe that happens.
Over time, there's a big.
She got rid of loads, but she had loads as well.
She's replacing them rather than just getting rid.
Yeah. So
a lot of people, when like now COVID's done this, they've not forgotten it, but they're just ready to get on. Are you in the same sort of boat?
I think they are, and my partner Rich, one of the things that he's really missed is being able to go out and eat somewhere.
Yeah,
so
that's a big
we
thing.
went out the other week and had Sunday lunch somewhere near us, and it was outside. It wasn't a great day. It wasn't like this. It was fine. It was a little bit chilly. But, we had an outdoor heater, so it wasn't so bad. And it was amazing to have somebody else cook the meal. But
after a year.
Yeah, so that's what he missed. And actually, I didn't. What I liked about it was that I had my family around me because Rich works away in London during the week, so I don't get to see him that much. Just at the weekends, so for me it was like great.
There has been massive benefits like that. Like I got a lot closer in my relationship to my girlfriend just for being around her constantly.
Yeah.
Like it's because I was actually planning on going away. Like I was going to go to Africa last year. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
And I was very sad, but because of that, I actually started bonding with her a lot more.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been in the house.
Yeah.
I'd have been gone, and the relationship still would have been a bit. Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen?
Do you think if you went to Africa, were you going to go on your own then?
Yeah, I was going to go on my own. It was like for 3 months. I was going to try and do some teaching down there.
So do you think that if you went, that you would have? Might have splintered a bit more.
I think if I went, we're still in that stage of the relationship where we both were pushing directions in our career.
Yeah.
Because she's a vet and she was thinking about going to like a third world country to become a vet.
Yeah.
I was thinking of going there, and when it happened, we were both sad we were losing our like dreams and ambitions, but we actually came so like close together, and like now this is the truth. It's actually kind of hard to leave each other. It's like an addiction.
Yeah, I find that.
I mean, that's lovely though. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do when Rich goes, because the other thing is, it's meant that because I've been busy all throughout, even though working from home. And I've been learning new things, so we've been doing a lot of stuff online, which I suppose a lot of people have, but I've never done that before. So I've been doing online tutorials and tours and talks and things like that, and I don't really like to be in front of a camera, so I found quite early on, that I did a couple on camera and I thought, no, don't like that.
Yeah,
so I'm just going to be,
bad.
I'm going to be there, but you'll just see my hands doing things or hear me, hear my voice, and that's not so bad.
You've got to get it right for you as well, haven't you? You got to be comfortable.
Yeah. So I did more of that. So I think that was good. I learned some new things, and that's kind of fed into the Birdsong project as well, which has been really good. But I've loved working at home. I like working at home, and I feel like I can get more done.
Yeah.
It might sound a bit antisocial that, but we've got a big back garden. We can, it's just great, it's good for the kids.
Yeah.
The bit that I haven't liked is having to do the homeschooling. Oh God, that's driven me mad.
Yeah, the last year at university has all been online. So I haven't stepped foot in my university building for around 16 months now.
Did you find it difficult to do your learning online? Or
I found it difficult to like motivate myself to even turn it on, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So at the start, it was kind of cool. Like, sick. I can do this from my bed.
Yeah.
But I don't want to do it from my bed. If I'm going to learn, I'll go. If I want to work from home, I'll work from home.
Yeah.
So it's weird trying to mix the two.
I think for me, the benefit, I was sort of ahead of it a little bit because being freelance for a while, you kind of got into that. When I first became freelance, I was like, oh, I'll just stay in bed a bit more, a bit like what you've just said, John. And
Are you quite disciplined now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've got a workshop at the bottom of the garden, which is brilliant, and so I can work there. But when we had the kids at home, I had to stay in the house and work, and that was a bit messy. I got my laptop and all my stuff all around, but for filming, I had to go and do it in my workshop. But then the kids would escape. In inverted commas from the house, and Rich would be looking after them, and he was busy with his work, and then they'd come out of the house and they'd come down the path, and I'd be in the middle of recording, and I'd hear the banging on the door going, "Mummy, I need a poo." Oh, go to the house. Why are you here? So that was a bit.
The whole work from home culture, that's kind of been, not culture, necessity basically.
It's like cancelled office work, hasn't it? A lot.
Yeah, and so
I think there's a lot of people who quite like to carry on doing that.
100%, and a lot of businesses are starting to have like not half and half, even more work from home, and maybe some of the higher up people go to the office.
Yeah.
But I just think it's like they didn't want to give the employees that freedom before.
It's that trust issue, isn't it, really?
Exactly.
And now that they've done it for the last year,
and what
they've had to, like you said, through necessity, they've had to trust people, and guess what? Yeah. They've still done the work.
And it's better for everyone. It's cheap, no overheads,
Well, that's it. Less overheads for the company, less travelling for the employee, and fuel costs and stuff like that. I've probably saved more money. I've sometimes thought, how come I've got,
this amount left over.
We've not been out. Yeah. We've not been out to eat. We've not been out doing whatever we've,
Yeah, that's true. I've survived and not like my old wage compared to my new wage. Not I've gone down. Yeah. But I've got more money. I've survived. I'm not wasting money on coffees and.
Well, exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of. It mounts up, doesn't it? What you spend without really thinking about it when you're out and about. Yeah. So what sort of teaching would you have done then?
Well, I was going out to do. It was like a program where it was been lots of different things. Part of it was teaching. I was actually mainly going to write. I was going to do like a book on communications, like the different cultures, our culture and their culture. 'Cause I think deep down everybody's the same. We've just got cultural backgrounds that can tweak things a little bit, and then we can sort of distort things and no, maybe.
Well, I was just thinking, does that mean that deep down everybody's potentially a serial killer? Or
no, I don't mean.
I mean, that's a different question.
I know what you're saying.
I mean, we're all human, and I think we all obviously we all eat, we all drink, we've all got the same fundamentals. So
it's just different priorities depending on what your culture is and what your beliefs are, aren't they?
Yeah. So I'm just sort of fascinated by that, and I've always wanted to, because when I first went to Cambodia, I was shocked at what actual real poverty is. Not like poverty you see on TV or in documentary, but when you're actually physically there and you're actually in it, it just changed something in me. But having said that, they don't have anything, but they have great community. They have great family, and that's something I've never had in my life. And I'm sort of fascinated by that.
Yeah.
Like,
how do they manage to do that when they don't have very much?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I thought the same thing because I went over to Kenya a few years ago, and I thought, I mean, obviously they've got an eye on making money from tourists. There's always that going on, and they're very good at doing that, and they're very good at making things to sell to tourists. But I also thought they were really happy people. And we're not.
We're miserable.
We are, aren't we? We're like, oh God, we've got to do this. We've only got this much time to do it. Oh, we've got to buy this. We've got to have the latest, thing. Yeah. Sorry, I'm spitting there.
Fine.
That's a good thing. There's a big table.
Yeah.
But it's all that, isn't it? It's everything's rush, rush, rush. It just sometimes feels like, it's just too much rush, too much pressure.
We value the wrong things.
Yeah, and this last year, whilst for me anyway, I've still been working a lot. There's been less rush because you're not having to go places and get back to places by a certain time. It felt a little bit. I keep spitting. What's going on?
Just get it all out.
Vaccination. I'm not going to get you COVID.
That's all right.
But I don't know. I think it's almost given people a chance to think about.
Look within.
Just sort of stepping back a bit from it. But I also wondered whether, come June when everything's supposedly back to normal,
will people forget?
People will just go forget it.
I honestly think they will. I think they'll remember it as like history. No, go on.
Yeah.
No. I was going to say I'm sure a certain percentage will stick to the values they've probably learned over the last year, but a lot of
I don't think
society.
I don't think it's a bad thing though, because people just want to forget what's happened, don't they?
Well, I mean, look at the traffic out there.
Yeah.
It's the same, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels like it's never happened.
Yeah.
You know, apart from the masks and the galleries and museums not being open yet, it almost feels like it's not happened. And people are getting close up to each other again in shops, and I feel like saying, "Will you just?"
Yeah, it's
Well,
a bit worrying.
To a lot of people, there has really been no virus, because if you're a frontline worker,
Yeah.
you're just living your day anyway. It maybe a little bit more difficult as well.
Yeah.
Like my girlfriend's been living on the front line, so her life's been exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's only me who's been at home. Obviously when you go out, you see things and you see like the distance. So you feel like living like this apocalyptic world a little bit. But
there's always been I know there's this bit of a conspiracy theory with some people. I've met one or two people who are going, oh, it's all a government thing, it's just a way of making money out of people and getting big contracts, because they've got big contracts for the the vaccinations and all that, and it's like,
it's a bit of an elaborate plan, isn't it?
I think I don't think
well, I think all conspiracies start on good intentions, and then they always drift down into this rabbit hole, and they just
get run away, don't they?
It's just crazy talk, isn't it? Really, I don't know.
It's strange, especially when you encounter those people who fully believe it. Like, it's okay, theorizing. Like, you can say what you want as long as Yeah. But I think someone who genuinely believes.
Yeah. You can theorize up to like an extent.
Yeah.
And then when it's getting a bit crazy, and like there's 5G implants and
You're not recording this yet, are you?
Yeah.
That's brilliant. That's easy. Easing me into it.
I forgot. He said that he would, and I forgot. So halfway through it, I was just like,
we're sneaky.
It reminds me. Would you mind shuffling up just like a couple of more?
Am I? Yeah.
No, it's fine, but I'm just being cautious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Paranoid.
Yeah.
But
you can edit that bit out, can't you?
Yeah. Oh no, we'll keep it on.
Might be nice to.
No, don't, because
a bit more human.
You might have said rude words and things and not realised it. I try not to do, because I've got
you said a few rude words downstairs.
Yeah. Well, I know. Well, that exactly. I've got twins, and they're 6, and so I have to kind of be a bit more. It's like when you go into teaching mode, for instance, and you're in a school, you just switch it off.
Yeah.
And it's like an automatic thing, because people will go, how do you manage? You like swear like a trooper, and then you go into schools. I'm like, I just switch it off. It's just easy. But
you have to,
with my kids, I haven't found it quite so easy, because you're not in that professional mode. You're just in.
It's a different relationship, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And my daughter Rosie said something to me in the car on the way home yesterday. She said, "Oh, Mummy, why were you upset about something?" And I said, "What do you mean?" "Oh, you were fed up about something." I said, I don't know. What do you mean? She says, "Well, you said something." And I said, "What did I say?" "I can't say." And I said, "Tell me." I can't say. And I thought, oh, I must have
I am
sworn.
giving you permission to say.
Yeah, so it's something. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, whisper in my ear later. And then we just both forgot about it. So I've no idea. Maybe it wasn't. You know, I don't know. But so I have to kind of make words up that satisfy my need to swear, but are not actually swear words.
When you're saying swearing, you mean like the top tier swear words, or just like the medium ones?
Like
it is.
Fuck,
I think that's okay now, isn't it?
It has got into an acceptable standard.
Not in front of kids. I'm not saying, but I mean,
don't just tell them to fuck off. But
I feel like telling them to sometimes. I think that's kind of a it's always there when you become a parent. It's a weird thing, really. I mean, I'm a much older parent than. I was going to say normal, but it's like less normal now. There's not really what is normal.
Yeah, there's not really a distinction now.
Yeah,
between...
but like when my mum had 3 of us, I'm the oldest. Then my brother is a year and a half younger than me, and then my sister, she's 10 years younger than me. And when she had my sister, she was in her 30s, and they were like, you're an old mother. And I look back on that, I was 47 when I got pregnant with my kids. So that's like, when they put me in a high risk category because of my age and because I was carrying twins. So because I was like, I want to have the kids at home. You can't do that.
No.
It's too high risk. It's, and it was a daft thing. It was one of those kind of romantic visions that you have, and then the reality hits when you go into labour. I mean, you're saying but it's not something that you'll.
I just meant
Well,
I don't know.
I didn't mean I've been through that.
You'd be like the miracle
as a
of modern
24-year-old
science,
male.
If you were not pregnant.
Saying no, you're wrong.
Yeah,
you're wrong.
if I just said shut up.
Well, I mean, I suppose I'll end up getting, we've me and Sasha have had conversations that tend to come back to a similar theme of being mums and working mums, and you know what that means, and how
she was 17 when she had me.
Yeah, so Sasha was a young mum.
Yeah.
And she's always going to be a mum until the day she dies.
Yeah.
And I'm an older mum, and I'm always going to be a mum till the day I die. And you know, it's coming back to what you were saying earlier, Aaron, about no matter what culture you come from, what country you come from, at heart everybody is the same. So wherever you are, being a mum, generally you're the same, unless you don't have those maternal feelings and you have a baby and you don't want them, then you're not the same. But you know, mostly people have similar feelings about that. And today, if you're in a couple and you get pregnant, you still have to work. So when I got pregnant, it was on the understanding that I would have to go back to work quite quickly, and I was full-time freelance.
You just want to be with the baby, don't you, really?
Yeah, just, you know, and I wanted to go back to work. So I was going to be off. I decided to just take 3 months maternity leave, and I saved up enough money so I could do that, because like I said, I was full freelance. But in that time, I was still writing funding bids and still looking after 2 little babies, and kind of wondering when I was going to get any sleep, you know. But what was good about it was that when I kind of went back full time, if you could call it full time, it's not, you know, I don't know, you know, it's variable, you know. Freelance work is very variable, so you call it freelance, but you call it full time, but you might be kind of working on something full time but not getting paid full time. So there's kind of a difference, isn't there? But so when I went back to working on projects, I took the kids with me, which was great. You know, just wheel them around in a buggy, on the buses, wherever we went, you know. So that was really good. But then after a while, it got to the point where I couldn't really take them with me anymore, because they wanted to be doing stuff and, you know, moving about and eating things that they shouldn't be eating, and you know. And I've noticed something about kids. I don't think as a kid you notice this, because I don't remember this when I was a kid, that when you start talking to another adult and your kids are there, they start asking you questions, and then they get louder and louder and louder. Yeah. And maybe start falling out with each other. It's almost like an attention thing. Yeah. It's like, Mummy, you're not. Yeah. You know, you're not listening to me. You're listening to me. Why aren't you listening to me now? Yeah. Why? And I'll be like, just. Yeah, so sometimes it's difficult, and then trying to now, you know, they're older, they go to school, that kind of thing, but there's still that kind of, you know, I'm still very much a guilty parent, because I want to work, I want to create, I'm always going to want to create, it's just in my blood, my, you know, makeup, I suppose, and funnily enough, I sometimes feature my kids in my artwork. And I think perhaps that sometimes happens with artists, but
do you think it's like focused to you as well, getting a family? I think a lot of artists, when they get actually like a family, they actually get focused and realize they've got to actually do it now. No.
I don't think it focused me so much, but I think what happened, I realised that I was kind of jumping from one project to another, and you know, just going with the flow and not really having my own style. And that's really only come about really recently with the Birdsong project, and as I said, well, no, I didn't really say, did I? I said this off, you know, off camera kind of thing. That the Birdsong project came along at a time last year when my mum was shielding because of her going through cancer treatments and because of the whole COVID situation, and I thought, what can I do to help her? The only way I feel like I can do anything is through something creative. So, you know, I came up with this idea of doing a digital project, and because the Birdsong projects, they wanted it to be, Doncaster Creates wanted artists to respond to the whole COVID thing.
I remember that, yeah.
It's yawning, that's illegal.
Like an hour ago.
You have to leave the room if you yawn.
Yeah, no, I usually, I'm terrible for yawning. Anyway, so I decided to kind of the idea for the project was to have a space online, like a website, and centre the whole thing around my mum and people like my mum not being able to get out and about beyond their, the boundaries of their garden, really. And how could I do something where they could go out without actually going out, so virtually. So I thought, what about if, we start it in the square where they live in, so it's a really small place in Kirksandall, and then have conversations with people there, and then have conversations with people they know, and have conversations with the people that those
It's like
people
a chain
know,
reaction.
and keep going and see how far we can go, and put those conversations online, and
Yeah.
videos, audio, images, all that kind of thing. And it had the potential to be a really big project. I mean, it is bigger than what the funding kind of allowed, if you know what I mean. But it's got potential to be much bigger. But I could go on with it for a really long time. So that was it really. So it was kind of for my mum and people like her. And then unfortunately, when I got the funding, by that time she'd got really poorly, and then she came back out of hospital, and then a week later she was dead. So that kind of put paid to the project for a while. I didn't do anything.
Yeah,
on
I was
it.
going to say, was that hard? Was that a big blow
just
then?
It was just, I wanted to do it, but that was, nothing else.
My secondary at that point.
Yeah, nothing else mattered. My kids still mattered, Rich still mattered, my dad still mattered, but
Family.
they were, they were still in the background. In the foreground was my mum and what had happened to her, what had been happening to her, how unfair it all was, and how I felt. It was, how it was like literally how my heart was broken. That artwork I showed you earlier with the heart being snipped by a pair of scissors that look in the shape of a stalk. That was kind of almost representative of that broken heart, really. The scissors. My mum had a pair of, well, they're still there at the house, a pair of stalk-shaped gold scissors that she used to use for embroidery because she was massively into sewing and stuff. And so that was kind of representative of her breaking my heart. Yeah. Because when she died, that was it for her. It didn't matter anymore for her. What mattered was the people that she left behind. And she didn't do it on purpose. She didn't want to go, But so anyway, after I kind of got back to feeling like I could do, some work and think about things, I started thinking about how I could represent what was going to go online and all the conversations that I was having with people, or I was going to have, because I hadn't had really many conversations at that point, or any with people. And as I got talking to people and recording these conversations, it sort of gave me ideas, and thinking about my mum, what I could do. So I ended up with a sort of a collage style, where you've seen using a lot of vintage images, and then using some old photographs of people that I might have talked to, and then drawing some stuff digitally as well. So it was a combination of those three things to kind of create the artwork, and that feels like that. It's almost like my mum she's enabled me to focus on some artwork, and it's like, I'll never be able to thank her.
No.
I won't be able to thank her enough, and I won't be able to thank her. Literally, I can't. I can say thank you, but I can't really, because she's not there anymore to thank. But I feel like it's because of my mum. I mean, if I could exchange them, not do that artwork, and not be focused, and have my mum back, of course, that I'd rather have that any day. Yeah. Absolutely. Just even. 1 more hour with her, but 1 more hour's not enough, because it'd feel cruel, wouldn't it, to give you 1 more hour and know that you're only going to get 1 more hour. What's the point?
So the piece you showed us with the stalk scissors, did that help in the grieving process, or was it just more of a physical representation of, I think, how you felt?
Yeah, I mean, when we went to the funeral, my dad couldn't speak, so I kind of, I wrote some words, what I wanted to say about my mum, and Rich thought it was quite negative, but it was how I felt at the time. It's not a positive thing, is it, somebody dying? No. And it was just talking about how she'll never get to see my kids growing up, she'll never finish that knitted jumper that she was knitting for my little boy Max, and my dad will never get to spend another night in bed with her, all those things. And that sort of informed part of the artwork that I did around my mum, that one piece. And I've created 6 pieces altogether, and that was just about the last piece because felt like I couldn't do it. I didn't want to do that first and then feel like that was going to stop me. I needed to do the others, see what that process was like, and then get to my mum.
Did you have to build your creativity back up?
I mean, I had it,
slowly,
but it was just that, it was just that focus, and
Yeah.
and I wanted to feel like I felt, I was strong enough to handle doing that artwork with my mum, because obviously my mum is an old photograph of my mum is a central piece of the artwork, and thinking about what I was gonna put on there, what other imagery was gonna go on there, and it's very personal because it's my my impressions, my feelings, all of those things visually about my mum and how I felt about her and how I feel about her and the things that she did in her life, that kind of stand out to me. So I said to Sasha when I showed her the artwork, I did shed a few tears doing it, but not as many as I thought. I thought I was going to be roaring when I did it, and I didn't do. And I do still get a lump sometimes in my throat. Like I said to you earlier, sometimes people think that when you're grieving you don't want to talk about it, but you do. You want to talk about it. You want to talk about it all the time, to the point where it's really boring for other people.
And it's not. That's the reason why you might not want to talk about it, is because you don't want to, not disillusion, but be the person. I don't know. It was going to be a bad sentence. What I was about to say. Be the person that's always talking about the dead mum is what I was going to say.
Well, yeah, exactly.
But
I mean, I don't really.
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, and because what do you do when how do you handle it? I think different people handle grief differently, very differently, and I didn't know how I would handle this, and I've had grandparents who've died and it's been very sad, but this was my mum. My mum was a central figure in my life. She was, she was there when not literally there when I got pregnant, but that would be too creepy. That reminds me.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting piece of art to draw.
Or other, So, but she, she was there all throughout everything that I've ever done. She's been there and she's been supportive, and my dad has been as well. But my mum being my mum, I could talk to her about absolutely anything.
Yeah,
and
it's
now
a different thing.
Yeah, and now I feel like the relationship with my dad has changed, because now I talk with my dad about everything, which is, that's,
I guess he also
weird, isn't it?
might talk to you about more, because he hasn't got the backboard of your mum kind of to bounce all out.
Yeah, I mean, he'll tell me off probably for saying this, but yesterday, because I was doing some filming, I'd got my phone on silent, I didn't have it in my pocket, it was in a bag somewhere, and he was tried phoning me about 3 times throughout the morning, and I phoned him back about lunchtime, and I said, oh, hiya. He went, oh, thank God for that. I didn't know where you were. I couldn't get hold of you. I was really worried. I was panicking. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do my baking. I couldn't go out for a walk. I'm here, Dad. I was just working out, And he said, well, I thought it might be that. He says, but I was panicking when I couldn't get hold of you, And I really felt for him, because, I'm probably the next closest person to my mum, for my dad, and it's kind of it feels like a big responsibility, really, doesn't it, being that person?
I can imagine. Do you feel, do you like that responsibility, or is that more?
No.
Yeah.
Who would?
Well,
it's like when you become a parent, who, again, you romanticise the idea of having kids. Oh, it'll be great. They can be mini me's. There'll be this. There'll be that. And we sort of talked about all of that, and your kids just end up being who they are. You can mould them to a certain extent, but why try and make them like a mini me? Let them be who they want to be. But just be there to support them, and be there to kind of let them see what's around in the world. I think sometimes if you don't get those opportunities to see what's there, you don't know what's possible. I want them to experience loads in their lives. I want them to be happy, and I can't make them be happy. I can't make them do anything, really. well, I can try and make them eat the tea and go
Yeah,
to bed
the
at a certain
vegetables.
time, and but you know, and as a parent, it's kind of, it's always there. It's like a low level thing, always, that you can't forget about. You know, in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking, what are the kids up to? What are they doing? Are they okay? When they go to school, are they all right? Have they, you know, has somebody managed to get in the school and kidnap them? You know, that was a big theme running through my head when I got pregnant. Somebody's gonna, you know, kick me in the stomach and kill the fetuses, you know, stuff like that. And that happened, and I remember hearing an article about that, and it was awful because he didn't want to pay maintenance or something. He stamped on his ex-girlfriend's stomach, and the baby was killed, and that kind of, I was so upset about that, and so I was really cautious about everything to do with them. And then, you know, I thought, what happens if the cord gets wrapped around? It's crazy stuff, really.
It's the thought of something being taken away from you that you've wanted for you know, for a long time, and in any scenario. So being kicked in the stomach is a very unlikely thing to happen.
Yeah.
But when you hear it's happened to somebody else,
yeah, it's like all the horror stories, really. Anything that I could, you know, it's that. It's just been too creative, too imaginative sometimes. You know, I still think it now. What happens if I'm a really light sleeper, so, you know, a sparrow could fart in the next street and I'd probably hear it, or maybe not nowadays, I don't know. But, you know, so I usually hear the slightest thing. If the kids are moving around, I'll know. But sometimes, like, was it yesterday or the day before, Richard bogged off and slept in another room because I was snoring. Oh dear. And I woke up with a kid on either side of me, and I didn't know that they'd got into bed with me. So, you know, I sometimes think, what happens if somebody breaks into the house and steals the kids, and I never see them again, and I don't know what's happening? And the worst thing about it would be not knowing what was happening to them. And it's a scary, scary responsibility. Going back to that scary, responsibility of that. And I remember watching I think it was an Imagine programme about Tracy Emin, and she'd had twins and they'd been aborted and all that, and she said she didn't want to have kids because she didn't feel like she could be an artist and have kids at the same time. And I thought at the time, I was shouting at the telly going, what are you talking about, woman? Of course you can. You can do that. I'm doing that. But then, you know, as time's gone on, I've thought, well, actually, it is really difficult. There's always compromises to be made, being an artist and, you know, having kids, because you're the main carer. No matter what anybody else says, you always are as a mum. And then if you know, do work when you've got the kids, you're sort of shoving them to one side and going, just hang on, I need to just get this done. You're trying to get into a zone and you're trying to get work done. So then you're always this guilty parent. And it, you know, it is a heavy burden, really. I think parenthood is, and we've kind of almost not talked about artwork that much, have we?
Well, I was going to get on to the one you showed us about your parents. You said they're from India, but
that was my my dad, and I knew that my dad had been born in India, but I didn't know that his parents, my grandparents, were also born in India. Their parents were from, my granddad's parents were from Ireland, hence the name Keating, and my nan's parents were from Kent, I think, and so I didn't know that, so I only found that out fairly recently. The other thing that I didn't know was that the name Keating is usually spelt with an E on the end, as in the Irish spelling, and that would make sense, having Irish great-grandparents or whatever. Great-grandparents, thank you. And we spell it without the E, and my dad dropped it when he was young, before we were born. So that was something else I found out about them. And also, my mum's mum, so my mum's dad, my granddad, they're long gone now, he was from Barnsley, but my grandma, she used to joke, and it's in my artwork as well, on the one for my mum, that she came across the sea in a boat with a Chinaman, and I thought that was I thought it was just a joke. She made a joke of it, But it turns out that her maiden name was changed to sound more English, and it was actually, we think it's a Jewish. We don't know whether she was born in the UK, or if she was born abroad, or if she was born in the UK, her parents were born abroad. If they were Jewish, we just don't know. Can't find out anything about it, and it's like one of those family tree. Who do you think you are kind of thing? I don't know. I feel like a mongrel really, or a vagabond, or a traveller. Sort of.
Do you ever do one of those? See the websites, the ancestry things.
I had to go, and you can get so far with it, and then you have to pay for it.
You have to pay for it.
I didn't know if I could get much further, even paying for it.
Yeah, you don't want to do it and not find out. It's interesting how Barnsley, India, Doncaster, India.
I know, and possibly Jewish. Could that be Poland? Could it be Germany? Could it be? Who knows? You don't know. So, so one of the pieces in the artwork with the India connection, there's also a ship on there, and that's to represent the ship that they came back on. It was the SS Ranchi, I think it was called, and it was part of the P&O group, which was I can't remember what it stands for now, but anyway, and I found the passenger list from that time, and it's listed my dad and his parents and other relatives on that ship passenger list, which is
and that'll be around for a long time as well. If you can find it now,
exactly.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's in writing.
It's there, So I feel in some ways like I'm only just starting to find out about my family, just as they're kind of disappearing from my life.
Yeah.
Because my mum's family, nearly all of them, have died now, so I can't ask them.
Yeah.
And whilst there's still some of my dad's family around, it's difficult to.
It's weird to open a dialogue with, especially after 47 years later.
Yeah. So what? Going back to the artwork that I did about my dad's family, the reason that they came to came to England in the first place, was because of the partition in India. So back in the late 40s, early 50s. Did you know about partition?
Not a lot.
No, and we watched a film about it, and it was fascinating and not great, because they split into two countries, and there was lots and lots of fighting, and lots of English people came back because they were it was part of the British Empire.
The whole
it was all about it's
the
all
horrible
kind of
British industry.
Yeah, almost. Let's not talk about that anymore, but still talk about it. So so they kind of came to England because of that. So my dad is actually not British he's a British citizen. So there's that whole Windrush thing. I don't know if that included people from India or if it was people from kind of places like Jamaica and stuff like that. The Windrush thing that happened recently, where they were sending people back to where they originated from, but actually some of them didn't, or because they were born here, or they'd lived here a really long time. They'd got the families here, should I say. So maybe they originated from places like Jamaica, but then they got married here and they had children here, and then they were told to leave, and they've had to leave their families behind. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's mental.
So I didn't know if that happened with people from India, because if it did,
I
in
imagine
some ways my dad could be asked to go back, even though he was only 6, something like that, when he came to England. What would that mean for our family if that happened?
It is. The whole thing's crazy with stuff like that.
Yeah.
You can't. I don't understand how they create these policies. Just send it like. Excuse me.
I know exactly. So I used to think years ago that I was kind of, very English, British through and through. I don't know what that means, other than that I was born here and my family are all from here. But it turns out that they're not.
Yeah.
And so what does that mean? And it kind of starts to open things up, about my identity. And I think when you look at it, everybody's come from somewhere else, even if they were, from Vikings. So, and that's a scary thought.
Just how far back you go. That's all.
What happens if you were, if your family, your ancestry is from Vikings? Was that because a Viking raped?
Yeah,
a Viking man raped a woman in the British Isles, and that's how that
Yeah,
kind of
that's
ancestry
me.
came.
That's my ancestry.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is that because you wanted to be, or it's actually?
Actually, I did the
Wow.
DNA test, and
Yeah.
42% Scandinavian. So yeah, Viking blood.
I kind of wanted to do that, and then, Rich said, "Oh no, don't do it. It'll open a can of worms. You just
that's
don't
my
know
thought process. Anyway.
Yeah, you don't
you've
know where
got
it's going
you've
to
got
lead
to do
to.
it.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
I bet it is. What else did you learn though?
I learned. I always felt suspiciously I had like some Spanish in me. Like I always sort of knew. I was always able to. Obviously I don't know if this is talking bullshit, but I was always able to speak it quite well.
Oh, right,
So I don't know if that actually is a thing that works. But I just felt really comfortable there, and I'm 17% Spanish, 42% Portuguese. There's like a little West Asian in there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I found out like I've got 6 places what I've would never imagine. Half these places don't exist anymore. So like I got a bit of Portuguese, but it was the part of Portugal that isn't there no longer.
Yeah.
So in the deeper you dig as well, you just find out what family trees you could have come from. I've gone quite far back, like to the Viking families, and I think I'm from one of the main ones actually. Which
Oh, yeah.
Which
I
is
didn't know
alright.
there was a main one.
Yeah, what's
the
the
King
main
Viking.
What's the main Viking called? I think you know,
Josh.
No. Josh, yeah.
Dave.
I know.
You like the big one?
I know. Going back, I guess. I mean, of course, like going back like 1,000 years to Vikings, because my family was from Scandinavia and then went down to France, then came across with 1066 and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
With William the Conqueror. So my family was like coming over from that, went up to Scotland, so there's all that.
How do you know all that?
You've done the same, haven't you?
Have you?
Yeah.
Well, sort of the same, and also like, well, my surname's Sinclair, and of course, like, surprisingly enough, there's a fair amount of like history. Again, it's one of those things like it happened hundreds of, well, even thousands of years ago. So there's going to be a lot of people connected to this.
I'll plug the
so
DNA.
I understand that, but like the Sinclair name like holds quite a lot of history in it.
Oh,
In
does
Scotland,
it?
like we've got like connected to like 4 or 5 different castles up in Scotland, and
Yeah.
there's like records of like, of like the Scottish treaties that, I think there's like ancestry being signed there, and of course like I think technically, the Sinclair family was like cousins of William the Conqueror. When you go back, William the Conqueror and all that were connected to, a Viking called Rollo, which is like one of the
main ones. Yeah.
Like,
The
because
top
of course
15.
The Vikings didn't really have surnames or whatever. Like they didn't, they were like Rollo of that.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have like a proper surname. So
Yeah.
so it gets hard to trace that after that.
Yeah.
But Rollo was like the first Duke of whatever in France, like, and all that kind of stuff. So
If you hang around on the
technically
website,
it's down to royalty, really.
if you hang around on,
So I am France.
Do we need to
Yeah.
bow then?
Yeah, you own France, but you've got to go back.
But
So, see you.
if you hang around these websites, you can get them cheaper. Because the one I did was like supposed to be like 100, and I was just waiting around on it, and it dropped to like 30 quid, and that's how I did it.
Yeah, you can get like the basic thing that tells you about ancestry.
But then
and
if
then it goes into like your mental and physical health and like a bit more.
don't pay for that now. Just absolutely research. It took me
Yeah.
hours and hours and hours to like trace all my DNA, but it's possible without paying.
I mean, I suppose if I was looking at the mental and physical thing, I would say that I must be from Viking origin of some kind, because if I hurt myself, I heal quite quickly. I'm quite strong. I've got quite a high pain threshold, but then a lot of women would probably say that.
Yeah.
So maybe all women in England, or most women in England, have originated from that Viking raping and pillaging thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I think it's fascinating. It's the stories though for me. It's like, what stories are there about your family and where you've come from? I used to think that I'd like to feel that I came from, some independent women who were, kind of accused of witchcraft because they were independent.
I think
women.
if you feel it, you probably have. I think you.
Well, there's that. Yeah, there's that. So there's that. But I mean, that was more. It's more to do with that kind of spiritual thing, and being connected to the earth. I'm not keen on the air, and I'm not keen on the water.
Yeah.
And I like to be
And
on
be
the
grounded.
ground. Yeah, very, very grounded. So there's that whole thing, and that whole thing about being independent and knowing your own mind, and kind of, almost.
You've always been like that, though. Is that, or is that
sort
something
of, yeah.
with age?
I was saying earlier, I'm not. People think that I'm quite outgoing, and I'm. I've had to work really hard at it, so I do find it. So that's why I was saying to you, when you offered to have a chat with me I thought that's so lovely. I kind of got that vibe that it was going to be lovely today because of that, and I didn't get a chance to do it.
It's because I know myself now, because obviously being on this side as well, it's slightly different, but it's sort of the same a little bit, because I've still got to go downstairs, meet somebody I've never met before. There's still, we probably all grew up with dickheads. So like when you go down,
or as dickheads.
Well, when you go when you go downstairs, you're like, right, who am I really gonna meet? So there's a little bit of you what's like, and obviously every guest is different. So you've got to prepare yourself in different ways as well. Like some people, you're really chatty, but some people aren't.
Too chatty.
So you got to
it's good. It's perfect for something where you got to chat.
But have you ever like met anybody who's like really hard to engage or just being a bit knobby?
I've had people.
What do you do? How do you deal with that?
You just got to draw them out.
Keep integrity.
Just can't play along, but you just pretend it's not happening. You just got to
really.
Just keep your own integrity, and then just like ride it.
Have you ever had anybody who's got like Tourette's or any kind of twitch or anything where they just do something and
throws you off at first?
There's a woman on Radio 4. She's got Tourette's, so some people swear a lot.
Physical and
and she says biscuits a lot when she gets when she's kind of nervous. So I've heard her on Radio 4, so she'll be doing an interview and then she'll just talking along and then she'll go biscuits, and it cracks me up every time I hear it.
Well, to her
it's funny,
but
and that's a physical manifestation of her, I think, nervousness or whatever. It's like when people have got stutters and things like that. So it's that whole thing, isn't it? And it's a bit weird. So going back to who I think I feel comfortable being, want to be, or feel like I might be, that kind of that grounded, almost spiritual, but completely not religious. The exact opposite of religious. I'm not religious at all. And my mum said that she was a little bit, which also surprised me because we've never been a religious family. But my dad was from a Catholic family, which he kind of turned his back on because it was too much. But then, I also think about when, I was saying I went to Kenya on holiday a few years ago, and we lived in South Africa for a few years when I was a kid. We went back twice. And when we went to Kenya, so me and Rich went before the kids came along, I said, I feel like I'm home. I said, I felt like crying when we came back to England because it felt like I was being wrenched from something. And it's weird because, like, you were saying about people, in certain countries are so poor and hardly have anything, and it's smelly and it's dusty and it's alive and it's dangerous and there's so many things, and you kind of think, would you really want to live there? But it also felt like I was coming back to something, and I don't know if it's because of me living in South Africa as a child, but that was, much more westernised in South Africa than other parts of Africa. So Kenya isn't.
Yeah, I was going to say South Africa's quite. You have the urbanised area.
Yeah, it is, and so more like being in England, but Kenya wasn't. But I just loved it. But would I really want to live there? I don't know. But I said to Rich, why don't we do like a 12-month thing? Just work here for 12 months. And I got talking to somebody, and I'm like, he's going, you should do it. And I thought, I could do it. And we could have, potentially done it without the kids, but I wouldn't, we couldn't do it now.
No.
But I don't know why I felt like that really. But, it's like being drawn to things. It's like being drawn to forests. I'm drawn to forests.
Yeah.
Don't know why, because they're dark and gloomy places, but there's the smell there. There's the feeling of being able to get lost in it.
It's just it comes down to feeling, doesn't it?
Well, it's because we came from forests. I'm thinking this the other day because I love walking through the woods.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking this is probably where humans are supposed to be, really, isn't it? And like all this sort of stuff around us just exists because of society has created it.
Yeah, the tree hugging and all that. I mean, vast swathes of land were, you know, just forests.
Yeah, it
and
wasn't
we got
like
rid
all
of
of
it.
Ireland just one giant forest
Yeah,
until we all
yeah.
put it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's weird, but I mean, if you tried to, if we suddenly popped back in time to when we didn't have all this, you know, go back a few hundred years, we'd probably be scared shitless. Be like,
I mean, we romanticise
take me
the
back,
idea of
you
it,
know,
don't
it
we?
stinks. It's where are the roads? Where's my
Yeah.
car? My mobile phone's not working anymore. You know.
I want a cheeseburger.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, it's like that, and I get so tired of like this morning. I put my phone on loud because I was showing the kids. I got videos of the kids when they were younger, so showing them. You know, we look at them sometimes, and because it was on the sound thing, emails and things and messages pinging all over, and I'm thinking no. So I usually keep it on silent at the weekend because we try to kind of get away from it. But you know, in some ways, if I didn't have that, I would feel a bit incapacitated, and it's crazy to think like that.
And we've done it to ourselves anyway.
We have, haven't we? You know, I never thought I would be like that, but you know, it's like all my stuff is connected. My phone is connected to my laptop, is connected to my iPad. You know, it's all, you know, and I don't want to speak ill of the giant fruit people who make my stuff, but
do speak ill of anything.
No,
that's
but
fine.
you know, I feel like, you know, now they've got me, and I'm going to be with them forever. And I love the stuff, but it does feel a bit like they've kind of captured me in some way, and I'm invested in it now, and I can't get out.
Especially with the whole recording at all times, conversation, you know, keywords, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, this is the thing, right? So I'll be talking to somebody in a conversation about anything, and I'll go on like Google recommends you news articles.
Yeah.
And
it's the exact thing you've just
it's
been
all the stuff we talk about. They're listening to you.
Joking.
I'm not.
Have you not?
It's not a conspiracy.
No.
It's not. It's a genuine
when
fact.
You went on your website, if you're looking at stuff.
Is that as well?
That's how it started. That's the beginning.
Things
honestly, look out for this now.
If you
honestly,
get your phone right and just say,
just
say,
let me
say ancestry, right, something like that. Just say it.
It's going to come up.
It's going to come up. Because they've got algorithms that read you like keyword. He's gone. He's had enough.
He's going to get his phone.
He actually owns Apple.
It.
So he's.
Oh my god, yeah. Well, he could get me some cheap stuff then.
Yeah. Yeah, an Apple. But no, there's a documentary on Netflix. I actually watched it. My girlfriend watched it.
Yeah.
But everyone's always suspicious of it anyway. But it's got an algorithm that listens for keywords. So Facebook and Instagram, they're linked anyway. So if you have those, when you agree to their terms,
you're agreeing to that as well.
You're agreeing to advertising based on the keywords you said. I don't know if what I'm saying is 100% correct.
If you don't agree to it, you can't be on it.
It's a general vibe. Yeah, I'm not like amazing at it, but it is a fact that happens, and you can't stop it unless you don't have the accounts anymore.
Do you know we talked about, would it be possible in today, as in, you know, this century, to go off grid?
Not anymore.
And we were like,
no.
Well, we tried to track back about all the things that we do, and could we like stop doing those things and go, I think you could, but I think it'd be so difficult.
Yeah,
because you'd be like looking for your phone to go, I'm just going to
and these things as well.
I'm just going to drive and get my no,
I'm not going to do that.
What I'm going to do, we'll have to get the horse and cart out, or you know, where we live, it's really rural, and it's like, in fact, somebody said to me yesterday, well, Mandy, you're like at least half an hour from everywhere anyway, aren't you? And I said, well, yeah, you know, we've chosen to live there, and it's rubbish sometimes in terms of facilities.
Yeah, but
broadband and all that, it's rubbish. It's like we're like that tiny percentage that's probably never going to get the decent stuff, you know. But the advantages of living there and it being, you know, there's almost that separation. You can, as I drive out of town into the countryside, you know, I'm kind of leaving it all behind. I'm leaving the noise, I'm leaving the people, I'm leaving the conversations, and I'm, you know, this is lovely here now, but you know, all that, the kind of people bumping into you and being rude, and it's like, you know, people are just not kind, are they? I feel like people are really mean sometimes, and I want to sometimes, you know, be able to get away from that, and I feel like where we live, we can do, because we don't have to talk to our neighbours if we don't want to do.
No, of course.
We do,
yeah,
and it's lovely. You know, I remember when we first moved there, and I went over the road, we've got a post box opposite our house, I went to post a letter, and I got back 2 hours later, and Rich went, did you actually post, did you walk to the place where you
Yeah,
lived?
you've actually put it through the
And I'm
letterbox.
like, well, no. He says, but you've been gone 2 hours. What were you doing? And I said, well, the neighbour over the road sent a letter, and then we just got chatting, and he wanted to show me his collection of cars and motorbikes. And then that was it. I know.
How'd you explain that to your husband? I'm just
no,
joking. I'm just joking.
Being retired.
Yeah,
but,
I'm just joking.
Well, Rich got to see that as well, but eventually. But it's just one of those things where you can choose not to do that, but so a lot of the time it's very peaceful. It's that kind of, like I said, that feeling of separation, that space around
but
you.
Is it an illusion of freedom, or is it actual freedom?
Probably, but
I mean, it doesn't matter either way.
Yeah, when I was working full time before I became a freelance artist, the last job that I had, I really, really hated it, and I joined the Ramblers, which seems like an old people thing to do, and to you, I am an old person probably, but a lot of the reason that is because retired people have got more time, or potentially have got more time because they're not working, so they've got the time to go and spend a day walking somewhere. So I joined them because I felt like I needed to get out, and if I went and joined a group, I could just, I'd have a purpose almost to just go out. I felt claustrophobic. It's a really weird thing. It's like a mental thing, I suppose, because I could go outside if I wanted to do, but I felt really constricted, and I think it was the work I was doing and the way that I felt about it, and the way that I felt about the whole job and the company, and not enjoying it at all, and going out rambling and going out for all day walking and coming back feeling absolutely knackered and ravenous and just wanting to scarf everything, and whatever food was there was just it's gone. But it was just a great feeling of that freedom. Like you said, maybe it's an illusion, because we're not free, are we? That's another thing. We just got we're going bobbing from one conversation to another here, but that thing about freedom.
That's the point, I guess.
I know. But we've had conversations about slavery, that idea of slavery, and that all got abolished, and then modern slavery, it still happens in countries.
Yeah.
We look at ourselves, we are bound by it in some way or other. We are slaves to our lives, aren't we? We have got to pay our mortgages, we've got to pay our utility bills.
Yeah, no matter what, you can't
all
get
those
away
things. You can't get away
unless
from
you go completely, somehow, and you get rid of
if you're
every
independently
luxury.
Wealthy, if you own your own home or a caravan or something.
But you've gone through the system. Through a slave to get there.
That's
exactly.
That's what I'm doing right now. I'm renting to
buy
buy a.
wealthy.
I'm your best mate if you're independently wealthy.
I'm renting to buy a boat. Because I'm quite happy not living in a house. I'm not gonna lie.
Really?
I can live in. It's not. Everybody always imagines it's gonna be like a really small, tight space. It's still small.
Yeah, my granddad.
But it's not mega small.
Yeah.
It's the essentials. You don't really need.
Yeah.
A whole house if you're just
The lack of space, not that it's small, but the lack of space kind of makes you choose, I guess.
Yeah, and it's also nice because you're on the river, so you just they're going down the canals, so I feel completely off the grid and free.
Yeah.
And then also when we eventually own the boat, the idea is also to sell it. So then we're going to try and do like a bit of a monopoly thing, and we're going to try and go in that way.
Yeah.
Instead of like trying to save up for a mortgage.
Yeah.
Because it's hard, especially in our generation.
Get mortgages now, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Can you actually?
Yeah.
Well, the reason I say that is because my partner Rich, he works in London during the week. Well, not at the moment, obviously, but he was staying in hotels and all that, and it was expensive and it was impersonal. And I remember him saying one night somebody managed to get into his room. It was absolutely pissed up, this bloke. He come busting into his room in the early hours of the morning. I mean, imagine what that feels like. You're in a strange place and a stranger busts into your room while you're at your most vulnerable. And he had no idea what was going on, and this bloke had managed to get into his room with his key card. How did that happen? And after that, it put him off the whole thing.
Yeah.
He didn't like it anyway. So he bought a boat because he really likes the water and that whole kind of, like you said, that feeling of being away from everything. It's a slower pace of life.
It's a slow life.
Yeah, all that, loves it. So he now lives on a boat during the week in London, and he tries to go everywhere, tries to avoid the tube where he can. So he uses the clippers, the light water buses basically, to get to work. So walking, water buses, no underground, because the underground is just, it's...
For your sanity, isn't it? No, for my sanity, I try and avoid it, because I used to love buses because I could listen to music and I felt like it was time out from I can't do it anymore. I can't go on a bus. There's just something about the grind of life just keeps going and going and going.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. I want to try and...
Someone else's schedule,
yeah, I can't do it.
Yeah. And also you kind of maybe sitting next to somebody who you don't want to sit next to,
who's drunk and
whatever, you know. There's people who, you know,
it's a different story for women as well on buses. That's a completely different.
God, I mean, you know, all this Me Too thing, which, you know, I have been affected by that in the past. I don't know
anyone who hasn't really.
Yeah, well, you know, and I remember there was an article on, again, Radio 4. It's like when you're listening to Radio 2 or Radio 4, you know that you've passed a certain point in your life. You know, you've got to that age where that's a good station to listen to, and Radio 1's no longer the thing to listen to. Not that I think I ever really liked that station, but there was an article about what men did to women because they thought it was funny. And I mean, this is awful because I'm sat in a room full of men, but I don't for a minute think that any of you would do this, but I don't know you. I'm going to meet you today. And
there's a certain level of trust that you need to have anyway.
Yeah, and this woman, she was stood, I think it was a nightclub.
Let's see what it is first.
I mean, it's really horrible.
Yeah,
and
let's
he
pretend
stood,
that.
He stood next to her, and I think he pissed up against her leg or something in a nightclub. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Why? Or another bloke who jizzed on somebody on a train and
I've seen videos.
Yeah, they go around, don't they?
Yeah, they go around.
It's just, you know, there's this you know, suffragettes did all that. Some of them were killed in the name of trying to get equality for women, and that was all that time ago. Is it 100 years now, something like that?
Literally.
Or was it last year? 100 years? Yeah. So, you know, 100 years, you'd think that things had moved on, and on the surface things have, but then you look at things, you look in detail, and you think that actually sometimes things haven't moved on that much. And I think sometimes it's really difficult. If you say to somebody, it's like, you know, somebody from a different culture, for instance, somebody who's from, you know, BAME group, putting yourself in their shoes, imagining what it feels like to have a different coloured skin to most of the people around you. Somebody was saying to me the other day that she went to a festival, and it was an Indian festival or something, and she was the only white person there, and she felt very uncomfortable.
And that's
she didn't know what to say.
Just turning the tables slightly.
You know, she didn't like it, the whole thing, and it's like, well, you know what?
Good.
Yeah. So it's that, but you know, some of the things I was thinking about the US presidency and you know, prime ministers here. We had the first female prime minister a long time ago. Very controversial, I know. I'm not even going to go into that.
Let's not get into
that, especially not in Doncaster. But then there was the kind of then when Obama became president in the US, you know, there was all that about how long it took for you know, black people to get equality there. You know, there's all the racial tension and everything. It went on for probably a lot longer than it did in the UK, but they would rather have put a black president in place than a white woman.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, women and then black women have got so much to deal with.
No, they do.
You know,
and men are just
we're
not.
No, but
it's
good. Not. No, it's not. But you know, men have got things to deal with as well. I'm
not
saying,
no,
me, I'm a woman.
You know, I meant was men are bad. That is what I meant.
Well, no, I mean, people can be bad, can't they? Whether the men or women.
That's the thing.
I think the problem is, and you might agree with this, and Peter as well. Like, obviously we're
Peter.
Obviously we're.
Nice. I didn't know that was your name.
Neither did I. I was just gonna go the whole day without knowing it.
Just call me tech guy.
Tech guy.
Obviously, we can talk about stuff, and we can see what other guys are doing. Yeah. But unfortunately, like we grow up with it, don't we?
Yeah, of course.
Our friends put it in us. Like my old friend group were bastards.
Oh yeah, everyone in school.
And it only took till I was probably about 19 till I realised, okay, I don't want to hang out with these guys anymore.
But you've been involved in those stuff before as well, and you know, I've apologised to people I knew when I was 14, 15. I was like, because I've just felt guilty. I'm just like, I've apologised to like girls I knew. I've never done anything
Not
Not
like
fit-
pissing
y-
up against the leg.
I've
or
never-
jizzing
yeah.
on or anything.
No.
Unless they
no,
wanted you to.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah, that's a different. That's the next
We won't
podcast.
go there either. No.
Yeah. But I've had to because I just felt so guilty. But like, some people don't. Some people will go much worse.
You get dibrascoed in, and then you can't get out.
Yeah.
And that's why I worry for my little boy. I worry for both of my kids. I worry for Rosie because, the minute that she gets to secondary school, she's going to be this independent. She's already going, it's my body. I can do what I like. It's this, she's really kind of very independent for 6 as well, 6 years old.
Yeah.
And she's saying stuff like that, and I'm like, where's that come from? So I worry for her that she's just going to go off and do things because she thinks she's this brave teenager who, it's that thing, isn't it, when you're a teenager, you think you can take these things on. Parents are all fuddy-duddies. What do they know? They've never been through any of this. God, they're so old-fashioned. They watch, shit on telly and
Country
they talk
File.
about shit,
Yeah, iCarly's much better.
Yeah, but, exactly. Yeah. And so you think as a teenager that you kind of, it's all a brave new world and you're going to conquer it. And then, I just worry that what happens if she gets... Because I've worked with teenagers and they're so mean to each other. I think much more mean than they were when I was a teenager. I think...
Yeah, but
it's quite subtle,
you
isn't
get
it?
slapped if you were mean. Not mean. No.
You mean way back when, and now
In
they'll
school.
say I'm going to report you if you hit me, kind of
yeah.
thing. Yeah, so it doesn't. Yeah, there's no fear of, anything happening to them if they do. Yeah, so I'm worried that she's gonna, she goes to a party and some boy,
Yeah, you can't even go into that.
And then my boy Max, he's so easily led at the moment. Again, he's only 6, but I worry that he's going to get to secondary school and he's going to be like, oh, let's go and do this, and let's knives, and
there's a reality check at every point in some teenager's life, though, isn't there? I don't remember what mine was, but there's always a point where you kind of go like, okay, no, like I'm not gonna.
You can't remember an age?
Yeah, I mean, I was the skinniest ginger specky kid anybody's ever seen, right? So I was just trying to have mates. Like I was I took the piss out of other ginger kids, so that's why people liked me. Yeah. But then
so that you could be.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I feel bad for it now, and whatever.
Yeah.
But there was things that I would do, and then there was a point, maybe 15, 16, where it was just like, I'm not them. I'm not part of this anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, it's good because, like you said, some people never come to that realization. It's good that you kind of.
And it was never, like I said, it was never anything bad. It was just.
Yeah. But those people look strange because there'll be like a 40-year-old guy still behaving like a 16-year-old kid.
Yeah, exactly.
They
haven't had that moment.
Like it looks so weird. It's like, what?
It is
and
weird.
They'll come to me and they'll like, oh, so the thing I think like that as well.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, I'm not thinking like that at all.
I'm not one of you.
I kind of got the impression that you weren't, because you once I said yes to Sasha to do this.
Yeah.
Then you got in touch with me, John, really quickly.
Yeah.
And then you did, Aaron, didn't you?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm feeling a bit nervous. And you were like, just here's my number.
Yeah.
Just let me know and I'll ring you before. And I was like, I didn't know how old you were, but I thought you must be young because of Sasha saying that, you were.
You weren't corrupted by anyone else quite yet.
Not yet.
No, but I'm also glad I've got this like look into all this as well, because it's sort of taught me not how to behave as well. I mean, if we didn't have this, we wouldn't also see how bad people can be.
Yeah.
I think the thing that you were saying about us getting in touch, the emphasis, I'm sure you're probably the same, is you want people to feel comfortable around you,
well,
and you want people to be.
Yeah.
But I mean,
and you got to take those steps to do that.
Yeah, and we've seen stuff, haven't we, on the telly, where people are goading other people and they're being mean and all that, and I'm just, that's just not comfortable, is it? I would hate it if somebody did that to me.
I mean, it's all about empathy, isn't it?
I was about to literally say the same thing. It's all empathy.
Quite young. I mean, but of course, like,
or fake it.
Yeah,
or fake it, be a psycho, but
you've got to learn how to show it in some way, whether it's
Yeah.
genuine or not. But in this case, it is.
I think I was so gullible and very empathetic and stuff.
Yeah.
Not always for best, but in the long run, it's something alright because I've already naturally had that.
Yeah.
We've all got
people don't.
flashbacks of Xbox Live parties.
And I understood it.
I mean, yeah,
Because
because we've like, well, it's, I suppose I have really. We've jumped through one subject to another, haven't we? And there's been subjects that I've talked about that are kind of, more about me as a woman or a mum that you wouldn't experience. But it's good that we've talked about it and that you haven't gone, can we just let's move on. Yeah. So if you cut this, I'm going to be really mad with you.
Yeah, it's just going to be this bit. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
From now on.
Yeah, exactly. So
not even recording.
Yeah, so I kind of got the impression that you were going to be, kind. It sounds like a crap word to say, like nice, kind. It's not very.
It's horrible that you've got to think.
But
these will be kind or these won't be kind.
But,
I get it.
For me, that's really important. This whole thing about people being kind, you use that word, empathy, and also, I can't remember what I was going to say now. Kind, just I don't know. I can't remember.
And it's weird how like people, particularly men, because of course I think
men.
So men.
Those men.
Yeah, those men. Yeah.
There is a lot of insecurity
Pricks.
around like being kind, being empathetic. Like it's quite ingrained into us. Even now, like I can tell, like we're all right to a certain extent. Anyway. But
I hate
so
it.
Even if you got drunk, do you think you'd still be kind?
Yeah.
I'm
like
if not a bit too
I'm kinder. Yeah.
Same.
I'll tell stories about. Sorry, mate. You were speaking.
No,
I didn't mean to.
I was just saying, like getting drunk and then you're like, oh mate, this is the greatest night ever. Like you just hyped, aren't you? It's nothing weird, but
there are people who go the other way, which is the worst.
Like they get angry
or just disrespectful in.
Like, why aren't you hyped like me? It's like,
I'm just having a good time. Yeah.
Or just being really angry when they're not drunk, and it being like them thinking that it's all right to, it's like car drivers. I mean, I don't even know why I'm saying this because don't get me started because I'm going to get
Yeah, we'll cut it off at some point.
What does it cost to let somebody out?
Yeah.
There's something really strange about that. When you're driving, I turn into an absolute piece of shit. I'll be driving and somebody swerves into the lane. And I'll just go, this is my road. But I don't know why I do that.
I mean, I think it's that stress factor as well. If like when it's your right of way, this car's parked up, and so on the opposite side, so it's kind of your right of way, and there's somebody can see you, and they're just like, fuck it, I'm coming. Fuck you. And I mean, once somebody actually, I came to a junction. And they wanted to turn in towards the road that I was on. So instead of waiting, they didn't want to. In fact, no, I can't remember which way they were coming. But anyway, they basically turned into the road on my left side.
Oh, that's dangerous.
I'm like, what? It's not even your right. You're not even. I don't even know. You see people doing things, and you're thinking, how have you not caused accidents?
How are you still driving? Yeah.
How? And that it's
it's amazing what people like pass the test, and you just think how. Yeah. I got some friends like who when I was because I was really late to like doing any of that driving, and I got some friends who passed when I was like the age at 17.
17.
Yeah, and they can't drive. And I mean, not even in terms of like they're driving too fast. They stall at every like junction. Like they honestly can't. And I just think, how have they passed their test? It's got to be a backhander.
I've been in cars where you're genuinely scared. Like you know what I mean? You're like you are going too fucking fast. Well, it's your car.
Do you drive then?
I don't even drive.
You don't drive, right? So when you're a passenger, it's a bit.
We've talked about ancestries. Not done that. We've talked about being a mum. I've definitely not done that. Talked about driving. I ain't done that. I'm just here for the ride. I am another passenger.
What
yet again.
Talk about that you've done. What I was going to say when we were talking about being kind, the other thing I was going to say was about I'm really hot on justice, not in a kind of a legal sense, but just in an everyday
like
sense.
A vengeance.
That kind of
yeah.
Well, people being doing really awful things and thinking that it's okay to do that. I want to make sure that people, that I'm connected with are getting some form of, they're getting a fair hearing is what I mean.
Yeah.
So, if there's somebody that you don't like very much and then they're getting into trouble for something that's not their fault, I wouldn't just go, fuck it, great, go on. I'd be like, no, hang on a minute, that's not right.
They've done plenty of other things.
I'd get into trouble and say, I'd get into trouble for the person that I didn't get on with because I'd be like, well, no, you know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you said, going back to empathising with people. You can still empathise with people who've done horrible things because they're still people, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
I'm not
stripping
saying
it down
it's
to
right
the
that
very.
they've done horrible things, but you know, if something horrible happened to them, you could kind of empathise with that because they're a person. People, even people who do horrible things, people who are mean, they still feel pain. They still get upset about things, you know.
Well, it's like, you know, that one person who pulled into the lane and was you right away. That could have been just a one incident. Like,
The one time they've ever done it.
I mean,
and they've drove off feeling bad about it.
Thinking, how are you still
I mean,
driving?
I mess up as a driver as well. I'm not gonna lie, I do some things
It's
that's
like,
right.
what if someone saw you mess up and it's like, oh, that person's awful.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And it's like, that's just a mistake that one time.
Yeah.
Like, because of course someone else is just trying to go about their day.
Yeah.
You see that 1 second of weakness or mistake or whatever, and you're like, oh, that's what that person is.
I don't often think about it like that, but you're right. You're just seeing a snapshot of that person, aren't you? And you don't know anything else about them.
It's like the micro first impression, isn't it?
Yeah.
First impressions count, and if you see the first person, you know, the first moment you see is them pulling out when you're right away.
Yeah.
You know, that's the impression you make. So, oh, that person must do that all the time.
Yeah.
But it's like, what?
But they probably don't. But then again, they might do.
Yeah. Exactly.
You just don't know, do you? Yeah. I mean, it's.
Well, I actually nearly ran somebody over last night by complete accident. Right, Pete knows what I'm talking about.
Turn the audio
to get into my.
Is this like a kind of confession time?
Well, sort of. Right, you know.
And then he stole his jacket, and the film's coming out next year.
Oh, no.
So it's fine.
So you're gonna get retribution now, aren't you? Because they thought you killed that person whose jacket.
Yes, it's gonna come back on me. But you know, right. So basically, where I live, it's like a dark road. It's like 2 miles of just absolute pitch black road. And I was going.
It's a dark road even in
the day.
full daylight.
Well, it's really grey and overcast, and the trees are quite high up, so you can't.
Because I was like wondering if you lived in a tunnel or.
He lives under a bridge.
I live on like the outskirts of Doncaster, but
yeah.
I'm driving down there, and you can do 70 down there. So I'm absolutely, going down.
In this like dark.
Yeah, dark thing. I've got the headlights, and there's 2 people walking towards the car in the middle of the road because people can't get out the village, so sometimes they walk.
In the middle of the road.
Yeah, in the middle of the road. So they're walking towards the car, and I literally looked to Sophia, my girlfriend, and I was just talking to her like, I don't know what I was talking about. I say, are you alright? What's happening today? And then very generic conversation, and then I turned around, and Sophia's like, whoa! And I literally just swerved. Just to miss them.
Did you stop then?
No, I just kept going. We were kind of creeped out because they looked like really strange guys.
Yeah, they're dead. This is all a
like aliens,
dream from inside your mental.
But do you remember that time I was driving and we saw a random woman in the middle of the field? Was like going through all those dark roads.
I can't remember that.
Oh, you've done me now. Cause it's like I've just. It was you, and you was in the passenger seat, and we went around the corner.
I thought it was you anyway.
and there was just like this.
I'm not even here.
I promise.
I was wondering who you were speaking to over there.
Yeah.
We were. It was again. I think it was before the kids came along. I used to call them passengers when I was pregnant with them. So you're not the only passenger. Yeah. So we were driving down the road out of the centre of Doncaster to where I live, and fields on either side. It was dark, and I think the road they'd had some roadworks with the road, so there was like nobody else on the road, and then I just noticed a car parked up in a field, and then this kid, a similar age to you three.
Yeah.
I don't know how old you are, but visually kind of similar age, and they just stepped into the middle of the road, and we had no choice but to stop.
Yeah.
It was quite late. I think we'd been to Castor or something. I don't know, and we were like, "Hello, can you help us? The car's broken down, and can you give us a lift?" And we're like, "Well, no, because it was like a sports car, really. It wasn't, it got like 2 + 2. You couldn't really get anything other than a very, very tiny person in the back, or a cat or something."
Yeah. She's like, "It's alright, I'm a witch."
Oh God, yeah. Why did I say that? Yeah, you really are going to think I'm a witch.
A good callback.
Yeah, I know. Well, I've got something that I did the other day, and the kids are like, "You sound like a witch, mummy."
No, that's the word that she heard you say the other day.
That's I could be.
It wasn't witch.
We're like, "Well, we can't really. We haven't got enough room for you." And we were starting to get a bit edgy because they were like, "Well, there was him, and there was another kid, or a bloke, I don't know, an older bloke, and a much older woman, but like not a granny, but an older woman, and we were like, what is going on here?
Yeah. What are people doing?
Yeah. So I said, well, have you not? Can we? You know, can you not? Have you not got a mobile phone? Yeah, but the battery's gone on it. That's suspicious.
Of course it has.
So then,
all three of their phones.
Oh, so you stopped to talk to them?
Yeah, we didn't get out of the car. We just got the window down. Well, because we had to stop.
Yeah,
anyway,
they got in front
stood
of
in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
We were like, well, have you got a number we can call? Well, we don't know if they're in or not. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll just go and call the police then.
And they
well,
that's definitely a scam.
I'll tell you, we'll sort something out when we get home. Yeah, as soon as we get home, we'll call them. And he had to move out the way then because he knew we weren't going to get, I tried phoning the police, couldn't flipping get through. It was rubbish.
That's why we're probably there.
It's a scam. That's a scam, isn't it?
100%.
I don't know.
No, it is. That's
I was creeped, but what were they doing?
if you got out,
they'll have had an elaborate plan.
Were they going to nick our car?
No, they'll nick your phone. Because we was offering to take the phone off of you to call.
No, we didn't even offer them that. We just said, well, can we call somebody for you?
I don't know what the play. That's what people do. They pretend they're broken down on the side of the road.
Yeah, the broken down thing's a big thing.
It was late on at night. The chances of seeing anybody down there, because even during the day,
so there was 3 of them
not
as well.
That many, yeah.
One of them could have walked and gone somewhere else and got help.
Well,
if
it was in the middle of nowhere.
If you really wanted help, you would act a certain way, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh.
He wasn't panicking really. It was just.
That's
like,
what I mean.
Can you help us? Can you?
So grateful, like,
Yeah.
I'm so happy
it was just weird.
But if you're like too casual, like, oh yeah, you got a phone I can borrow. Oh yeah, mine's out of charge. You'd be
I am very cynical about stuff, and I think it's
you
that
have to
lifetime. As you move on in your life, you become more cynical about people, and it's a shame really. But you have experiences, and that forms how you feel about contact with other people. So I do like to talk to people, and my experience of the project, the Birdsong project, the people that I've chatted with and recorded, they've been brilliant.
Yeah.
It's been amazing, and it's amazing what they've told me. It's a bit like, chatting with you 3 today.
Yeah.
I think you kind of just forget about the mic after a while. I mean, you didn't even say you were recording. Buggers.
That's our tactic.
Yeah.
No, it's good, but it is good.
I didn't do that. I was just like, have I got permission to record you? Can I use this? And I kind of I said that before, and then I said,
we wouldn't have used it if you were uncomfortable or anything.
Yeah, well, if anything was brought up, we thought it was like,
But it was a good way of doing it really, and I didn't do that, but I haven't got experience, and for me, even though I was kind of the one who was kind of recording them, and they were going to be my kind of interviewee. I'd never done it before, and I didn't know how it was going to work, and it was just like this really, freeform, talking about anything and everything.
Yeah.
But I've got like hours of, recording I've got to edit now.
Nice, yeah.
So my editing will be probably rubbish compared. Are you all like, is this your thing?
Well, it's mine and Peter's at the moment.
Yeah.
And then we're, John, you're going to come in help us, aren't you?
Yeah.
And we're gonna try and turn it into like a thing.
Yeah. So have you got like loads of experience of doing?
He will do by the end of it. He's got 14 to do.
Well, I'm just off the road. I don't know.
Yeah. We found him.
It's mine and Peter's background. Like we both come from like filmmaking, so it's not too difficult for us.
Yeah.
I would do podcasts when I was younger.
Yeah.
And it's something I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
So the opportunity came up. So here we are.
So tell me a bit more about the process then. What software do you use? How do you edit?
This is Peter's side.
Oh dear.
Have I put you on the spot now? Do you want us to talk amongst ourselves?
The computer's not even on. I'm just pretending.
Yeah, there's
have to do
nothing
it all
there.
again. Oh my god.
Again, he's not real.
Yeah.
So
No. It's a figment of everybody's imagination. It's like mass hysteria, isn't it? You know when they have that like the witch thing.
Yeah.
Coming back to witches.
There's been a gas leak we've been needed to fix for a while.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah.
But I use all the Adobe stuff, Premiere Pro and everything. So.
Yeah.
I've got it. I've got all the Adobe Creative Suite because of the stuff that I do, and I've been using iMovies, but I mean it's probably very similar to Premiere Pro.
I mean Premiere Pro looks more difficult and daunting. But once you learn like how to literally cut clips and drag and drop, it's really simple.
Similar thing in iMovies, I think.
It looks a lot more professional than it is. It's quite simple.
I want to use it just so that I can say that I've done that, and I'd like to kind of progress on to using Premiere Pro. So, what I use a lot of is InDesign and Photoshop more. So some of the stuff that I've been doing for this project, I bought a little Wacom tablet to kind of, you know, with a little pen, so you could do more detail.
Well, my girlfriend one of it. She's an animation student, so
it paid for itself in about a week.
Literally.
It was amazing. I'm like, this is brilliant, because doing it on a laptop with a flipping little trackpad, it's just like, what? And I'm
every little part for those Wacom tablets. Have you got a stand for it as well for the back?
Oh, it's a little one. It's about that big.
Yeah, it's about 90 quid.
Yeah, So
again, it pays for itself.
Well, no, I think mine was about. It was more than that.
Yeah.
It was more like 150 quid, I think.
Fair enough.
But it was the Inuos.
I
don't know. Maybe it was cheap. I'm not sure. But anyway, I just thought I'm going to get it because if that can do what I want it to do, be more natural, it'll be and it's speeded up my process massively. So when I'm kind of fiddling about with pictures and things, it's just
the last thing you want while you're doing like the editing stuff is to think, how do I do the edit? You just want to get on with it.
Yeah. So actually, rather than using iMovies for editing all the stuff that I've been doing for this project, I might look at Premiere Pro then. And I did look at it, but I didn't have time to spend and do it. But I think it's a bit like iMovies or any program really. You just kind of do it.
It's a time investment as well.
You fiddle, don't you, with it?
Yeah.
So for me, this project's been really good because I've got to find out more about Photoshop. I've always used it, but I've kind of used it more in depth for this project. And
When is the Birdsong? Sorry, mate.
No,
go on. I would say, when's the Birdsong deadline?
Well, it was sort of supposed to be finished by the end of March.
Yeah.
That was when all the project kind of officially ended. But they knew that this was a much bigger project than they kind of what was funded in a way. That's just how it went. So there's going to be an exhibition in I think August. So there'll be a physical exhibition of the artwork that everybody's produced. I don't know what everybody else has done. I've met them, but I don't know exactly what it's going to look like.
It's kind of good not to know, I guess, because it's just going to be a collage of all these artists that you've interacted with, but then you'll see exactly what they've. Yeah. And the same when for you.
So I'll have the sort of the 2D artwork, the sort of the digital stuff that'll be printed out, and then I'll have a 3D kind of diorama of one of the artworks, and then because I've done quite a bit of that in the past, and I'm still, I like hand making things. Digital stuff is great, but I really do like to get my hands, making things. But then there's all the stuff that's going on the website. That's, even though my background is graphic design, so I've done quite a bit of digital stuff in that regard. It's still a bit of a departure, the visual arts that I've been used to doing over the last few years, to this project with all the kind of the filming people or just recording the voices and editing all that. So that's going to be. I'd like to get your opinion on it because I'm a bit rough and ready with it at the moment. And a lot of the recording that I did, it was online, so either through MS Teams or Zoom. And actually, one of the first ones I did was with a lady in Seattle, and you know what? She could have been in the same room as me. It was that clear, it was that perfect. And then there was somebody quite close to me, and it was a bit. So I don't know how that's going to be. I've got to watch them all yet.
There'll be ways to enhance them,
Well, there you will. Maybe I.
Don't know. I haven't got a single clue. I'm just trying to get involved. Just here for the ride. I need to chat to you about this then, because I don't know how to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I was just gonna say, if you use Photoshop and you're comfortable enough with that to use it, it's all the same kind of ecosystem.
Yeah.
So it's not like the exact same program, obviously. But there's the same way.
Similar controls and stuff.
You'll understand how Adobe software is once you learn one of them.
Yeah, you're right. It's not completely alien.
It's there'll be buttons that'll look hidden, but if you know how Photoshop is, sometimes they'll hide things, and you're like, oh, how do you do that? You look it up. It's quite simple. Same thing with Fringe.
I mean, what I've done so far with some of the stuff that I've done online, it's kind of been recording it, plonking it in iMovies, and then cutting bits out. So, and then adding bits where it kind of transitions from one to the other. Then sometimes taking sounds out, adding some music, or adding some, talking over something. But it's trying to get the levels right. You know, if you've talked on one bit and then you've talked at another time somewhere else, the level, you know, is all those things. And you know, it's very amateur what I've done so far. But you know, I've liked doing it. It was kind of a good grounding having done this last 12 months to then be able to do it for the Birdsong project, really. And you know, I don't know that I've moved on that far from when I first started it. My first video ever, you know, to the what.
I bet if you showed an outsider your first video and your last video.
I don't know that they've moved on that much really, but you know, I have. And editing takes so long. I did one the other day and it was for under 5s, and it took me 2 days to do the filming, to do the graphics for it, and do the editing for like just over 1 minute's worth of film. And I'm like, fucking hell, what?
You need to get an editor.
You know, it's all that, it's the editing and all that that's taken so long, you know, and you're thinking, so, you know, if people see that, are they going to go, she spent, you know, hours on that, spent 2 days on it?
They never do.
No. It's like, oh, that didn't take long to do, did it?
I don't think about editing when I'm watching video. You know, I should, but I don't.
Even when you're working in a media team who provide you, they're expecting, a minute's worth, like, just do that again. It's like, I just spent a whole week editing that 1 minute.
Yeah.
Like, do you understand what you're really asking for?
Yeah.
They never did.
Until I started doing it, I had no idea. So I could do a workshop and I'd do a little bit of prep and I can do the workshop and it's over in a couple of hours. To do the same thing as an online tutorial, forget about it. Yeah. It takes way more preparation because of all the editing and making sure that, you know, something that when you're doing it in person, it doesn't matter about all the blips and things. You know, people are going to forget about that. They're going to remember what they've made at the end of it and taken away.
Yeah.
The things that they've learnt. When you're doing it online, that's there forever, isn't it? All the, you know, blips and farts and all that. You know, not actually farts, because I actually farted on film and then edited it.
Yeah.
Or gone bollocks.
Made it loud,
and then gone, very loudly. All the kids saying about wanting to go for a poo and then going, oh my god. So you kind of, So it's been good experience. So I feel like I'm kind of, you know, I've been learning a whole new load of stuff. So they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I don't think I'm a dog, but I am getting on a bit in years. But I still feel like I've, you know, there's loads. That's the thing about art as well, creativity. You never. People say to me, oh, you know, I'll be glad to retire in so many years. I'm like, no, I don't want to retire. Why?
How do you even retire from that?
Well, exactly, you can't, can it? Because it's like a part of your, you know, it's a part of who you are. It's, you know, I often think that creative people look at the world in a very different way to everybody else. I mean, there's lots of people who are creative who don't realise they're creative as well. But I think it's the way that you see things. It's how you're more sensitive to what's around you in a way. You know, like you yawning and trying not to yawn, that kind of.
I've done well not to, you know. To be fair.
We've been doing 12-hour days for the past 3 days. So
You got him on the ropes,
Yeah.
And I'm fresh. I ain't yawned once.
I haven't actually, which is a surprise to me.
Yeah, that's fine.
Break in, yeah. But anyway, so we've talked loads, haven't we?
We've talked, then
we've learned a bit about each other. You've learnt more about me than I have of you, but.
Well, it is about you.
Yeah.
I think people are gonna be sick of hearing about me anyway.
Do they?
Yeah, because that's my technique I use. I talk a little bit about myself, and then the guest feels like they can talk about themselves.
But you didn't do that.